Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. We are everywhere where podcasts can be found and heard. If you want to, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the wild world of animation right before we hit another dry spell. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And on today's episode, we will be talking about the highly anticipated sequel to The Bad Guys 2. But first, and this is a bit of a surprise, all 4 episodes of Eyes of Wakanda dropped this weekend.
Yeah, so take a shot because we are going to talk about again how this year and the last couple of years have had really terrible, and I mean awful placement for feature animation and anything new or interesting for TV or streaming. Because yes, we are going to talk about Fixed and King of the Hill, but considering, again, how we've talked about this over and over again, basically, we're going to jam these takes down your throat like what Paramount did with the Smurfs trailers. And it's the fact that all of the really cool and interesting stuff pretty much came out in the second half of this year. Like starting in June to now, even though we're about to hit another extremely frustrating dry spell time period, all the cool and interesting things have started to come out now and what have you. And it's frustrating. I don't know how else to put it because we are having to wait now for pretty much anything else. And who knows when Netflix, Disney, Hulu, or HBO Max are going to drop something that's going to be really juicy and desirable for us to make a whole podcast around. And it doesn't help when we, over the weekend, also got trailers for GOAT, the new Sony Pictures animation film that's being executive produced by Stephen Curry, and Disney's Zootopia 2, where I know a lot of people are probably going to dunk on it because of what happened with Moana 2, but luckily Zootopia 2 was from the ground up a movie. And then obviously we're having to wait for whatever foreign animation is coming to our neck of the woods, and that means waiting impatiently for Mamoru Hosoda's Scarlet and whatever foreign animated films get released during October, November, and December, and maybe January, depending on how patient the voters are. I remember saying this when we first saw the Eyes of Wakanda trailer, this 4-episode pseudo anthology series that is interconnected by one single plot line. It was either June or July, and we were like, well, all the good stuff is really coming out in this part of the year. And it seems like they're kind of course correcting that next year because I think GOAT comes out in either February or March.
I believe it's around Valentine's Day.
It's just cool to see the trailer for that movie because I'll admit the teaser poster and just the details about this movie did not sound all that interesting to me. Just not my cup of tea. And then you watch the trailer and it's like, oh, okay, Sony, I gotcha.
That's the thing with Sony Animation. Ever since Into the Spider-Verse, and I know we're kind of a broken record about this, but that movie has granted them so much goodwill that pretty much everything they've done since has been, at the very least, interesting. Like, honestly, the worst thing they've put out since then was the fourth Hotel Transylvania movie. And looking back, it's completely understandable why that never made it to theaters.
Yeah, it's like even though it still had its amazing like character animation, there just wasn't much else to that movie. Which, yeah. Because Gendy was way too busy working on other more compelling things like Fixed. So, with Eyes of Wakanda, we are pretty much taken through the history of Wakanda throughout different moments where it is connected with a through line of one of the artifacts, funny enough, or, interesting enough, is the one that is found and taken by Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger, which is teased at the very end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, like at the first episode, we follow this woman who was like part of a merchant family, and then one of the Dora Milaje, and she is sent to take care of a Wakandan general turned pirate who has essentially gone through what Killmonger's dad did, was where they were sent out into the world to take care of missions and finding artifacts or taking care of potential threats to Wakanda, and then realize, like, wait a minute, we are in a constricted prison of our own making because we refuse to go out into the world, which is what happens in the 2018 Black Panther. And it is a little weird to see this show right after seeing Predator Killer of Killers because of the whole Viking side, like secondary character you see.
Yep.
And like the animation for this show is good. It has a very distinct stylized look, painted backgrounds, and there's a lot of good action, some pretty solid writing. It might not, be to what everyone else wants right now with like the limited frame rate movements and such, but all things considered, especially with some of the other Disney Plus exclusive CGI like experiences Disney has put out, this is one of the better tier ones because the visuals are very distinct, and I like the character designs.
Yeah, the character designs are very unique. I was talking to Brock about this the other night, and in some ways, this kind of feels like Marvel's answer to shows like Arcane and Blue Eye Samurai, where it's a lot more mature for a Marvel animated series. They do not really pull any punches when it comes to the action sequences, which are all very well choreographed, and they get a little violent at times, which is kind of refreshing to see.
Exactly. Though I will say, this could have been maybe a little more bloody.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like all this like uncut action that they show. I mean, it's not like they're showing people getting torn in half or something like the Predator Killer of Killers movie, but just with all the people getting stabbed, impaled, and killed, it's very bloodless. It's like someone turned like it's like I think it was the original Super Nintendo, or yeah, the original Super Nintendo Mortal Kombat, either 1 or 2, where you had to put in a password to put in the blood code. Otherwise, all the red blood from Mortal Kombat would be like green and such. It's like someone turned that blood code off for Eyes of Wakanda. There
That is
aren't,
kind of funny to think about.
and it's not like there aren't brutal moments. Like, I mean, we all knew what was going to happen to Achilles, right?
Oh yeah.
You can't be called Achilles' heel without knowing what's going to happen. We start off from like 1260 BC, and then we go into 1200 BC, where we follow a Wakandan spy who has infiltrated Romans. has essentially gone on this mission where, the Trojan horse incident happens to essentially just get this one item because it's was stolen from them. This whole show has a lot of themes and commentary about cultural appropriation and just like how we steal stuff for our own uses or our interests, and slavery. Even though, because like in the first episode, the Nati, the lion, voiced by Cress Williams, he sees himself as a freedom fighter, someone who has essentially freed all these people from the confinements of their own kingdoms and worlds, only to ironically enslave everyone.
The allegory is pretty explicit there.
It almost feels a little too much like the scene from the first Black Panther where Killmonger ends his own life while seeing all of Wakanda and such. It's like you're going to be sent away and arrested. And he's like, I'd rather not go back on a ship. And then he kills himself to like avoid that fate. Like, say what you will about that first movie, that scene is still great. And then with the third episode, it's basically between a spy who went into, I think, China to get an artifact back from his people, like that was there, only to then accidentally or unintentionally bring back Jorani, aka Iron Fist, to Wakanda because she wants to bring it back. And there's a lot of like thematic elements of trust, friendship, and bonds and such, especially with the middle two, because Achilles feels just so like enraged by the fact that Kaye like betrayed his trust and his friendship because Kaye was gone for years upon years away from Wakanda just to find this one item. Like, in a way, tragic because he essentially killed his one friend that he's bonded with. And then he finally gets back to his home country of Wakanda. And he's like, I do not belong here. I feel alienated.
That's what would happen if you've been away from home for as long as he has. I think it was like 9 years.
Yeah, like 9 years or so. And he's like, put me back out there. I need to do what is needed. And I will say, like, I wish the one thing about this anthology thing was I wish it wasn't like an interconnected story, even though it is kind of cool to see the main character from the first short in the second one. Like, I want to see a Star Wars Visions kind of approach to Wakanda, if that makes sense.
No, I hear you. And again, not to compare this too much to Predator Killer of Killers, but it's interesting how Star Wars Visions can be, each of those shorts can be their own distinct thing, but it seems like Disney is kind of getting cold feet when it comes to letting anthologies just be anthologies. And Marvel's What If was doing the same thing, which, I get it, that's kind of like the Marvel thing, but it would be nice if each of these episodes could have just been standalone.
It wouldn't be a bad idea just to they could have made this like with more Black creatives or something, like give them a chance to tell their story using Wakanda or something like that, like tell their own projects or something, like they could say like, hey, I have an idea for a story that takes place or is adjacent or related to Wakanda and such. So because with the last one, it's really the one that I think I like the least, just in terms of story. I like the idea of the two war dogs who are trying to get this artifact back, only to then I don't know how else to describe it, but what they assumed was like a Wakandan predator.
That's pretty close to what I thought it was, just from the design of the costume.
And especially since it's like invisible and such, like it's the Yautja technology, but obviously it's more like a prototype of what the soon to be iconic Black Panther costume was going to be. Unfortunately, it then just becomes like, oh, all this stuff that has been happening through years upon years in history all lead up to this one moment, and then you guys must place this hammer down, like in this location, or else history will be doomed, and Wakanda will be doomed because of this alien species, which I don't think they were connected or adjacent to like Thanos and his army and such, but or they were just their own thing.
These are just kind of generic lava aliens.
It was interesting to see like the woman in the fourth episode, like who turns out to be the queen of Wakanda in like from the future, is like, this is what happens if we do not put ourselves out into the world anymore. And really that's what happened with in the first Black Panther. Killmonger came back and he's just like, hey, listen, it's kind of messed up that we have done nothing to help our people. And not just in Wakanda, but all over the world. Because we don't want to like be part of wars and such. And it's like he framed it as their selfishness is what's going to end up like going to be our own undoing and such.
Yeah.
And it's good. Like the overall, like, I think this is a better concept than a full overall experience, because as much as I like, it was fun to see all the different interconnected moments and Easter eggs throughout the 4 episodes. The story is just kind of whatever, but I did like it. I had a good time watching it, and the voice cast is all pretty good with like Winnie Harlow, Cress Williams, Larry Heron, Jacques Colimon, Jonas Yao, Steve Toussaint, and a few others like Patricia Belcher, Keith Vanda Huvel, and Gary Anthony Williams showed up, Anika Noni Rose, and Deborah Wilson were there also. And like, it's a cool idea. I love when Marvel is able to actually be experimental. Though, yeah, it does feel like Marvel is still trying to grapple with the fact that the MCU is not in a particularly great spot right now, especially with the fact that they have themselves put all of these issues with the current lineup of Marvel movies on themselves, which
Yeah.
is kind of weird to think about. It's like our selfishness and refusal to interact with the rest of the world will be our own undoing. And well, guess what Marvel's dealing with right now? Actions and consequences brought upon by their own decision making.
Pretty much. Whatever happened with like the launch of Disney Plus and the Bob Chapek's quantity over quality mandates really hurt the momentum of the MCU. But at least shows like this can prove that they are still willing to experiment when they're able to. And my favorite episode is actually episode 3, not just because we actually get probably the best version of Iron Fist in the MCU. This one episode is like 1,000 times better than the entirety of the Netflix show, which shouldn't really be a thing, but that's neither here nor there.
I still remember the lead actor of that show being all like, yeah, I want to be this extremely martial arts driven superhero, but I don't want to do any of the actual fighting. And it's like, then don't fucking try out for Iron Fist. Oh god, that Netflix era was kind of a mistake. Like, as good as it could have been, it was kind of a mistake in some ways.
It was all over the place.
Like, no longer is anime the biggest mistake. But yeah, I would love to see more done with Eyes of Wakanda. Maybe a second series, maybe one that is able to experiment more with its storytelling and visuals. Like, get a bunch of different artists and such. Oh gosh, what was that anthology series that Disney did for like one season where they got a bunch of different like animation studios from Africa to make like all these different sci-fi shorts.
Kizazimoto.
Kizazimoto, like do stuff like that. That would be awesome. But we're also dealing with a current like Disney where they're not the bravest in terms of experimentation. So, but we'll have to see. If you haven't seen Eyes of Wakanda or just haven't heard of it because, it's all that good old fashioned streaming marketing where there's not a whole lot of it. But if you want to see something more Black Panther adjacent, then I would give this one a watch. I will agree that the third episode's my favorite because it had the most likable characters and the best action and just the overall amalgamation of the 4 episodes thematic commentary and such. Because yeah, I think I would also be kind of pissed off that you stole my artifact when all you needed was one little piece of it.
Right?
Oh gosh. It's like, you know what? Maybe they have a point about let's take out all these artifacts that we've stolen from all over the world and just put them back. It's like that one scene from Across the Spider-Verse where Spider-Man India is going like, there's traffic, more traffic, here's more traffic. Oh, and here's where all the British people stole all our culture and such. And it's like, whoa. Oh boy. But let's talk about The Bad Guys 2, which, even though I think the original Bad Guys movie was not the biggest hit of DreamWorks' like lineup, and I would argue it got buried by its, I think, original June release during the summer of April 2022.
Yeah.
And it then also got even more overshadowed by the trailer for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But it was nice to see that The Bad Guys, it did actually very well box office wise. That's nice.
Yeah, and it's even kind of gained, I don't want to say it gained a cult following, but streaming certainly helped.
Yeah, I think it's gotten a bigger fan base over time, which, all things considered, is probably why we got those 2 holiday specials, which, granted, aren't good. I wouldn't call them good. It's basically like when everyone complains about like current like Disney or Pixar CGI animation, and I'm just like, listen, you want to see what the cool stylized look of the bad guys looks like when they don't have the budget?
Exactly.
Well, or the writing and such. I mean, like, they're harmless holiday specials. They weren't meant to be anything more than that. But when you watch Bad Guys 1 and Bad Guys 2, it's like, I wish those specials got a little more love and money put into them.
The differences in animation are pretty much night and day. Like, this is a style that needs the elbow grease of time, money, resources. And if you weren't going to provide that on a TV budget, I would have suggested maybe they go full 2D animation.
I think that would have been a better idea. It's like the Boss Baby TV series for Netflix. Like, the Boss Baby was wholly reliant on its vibrant, expressive animation. Same with the Megamind movie. And then when they got their TV series or specials or whatever, it was like, oh, this is what it looks like when you can't have time to be really expressive with the characters. But anyway, so with the Bad Guys 2, we see them, a year or so after the first movie? And they are trying to live among everyone else. They are the good guys. They're no longer the bad guys. Only problem, when you are known as a group of notorious criminals, doesn't matter if you saved all of LA from a hypnotized guinea pig invasion, you still can't get a job, which, like, one of the things I did notice in this movie is the fact that it does slightly touch upon the commentary of how hard it is, like, once you are out of prison to get work, because you have this looming record over your head that makes it hard for people to be like, yeah, well, you were in jail, so why should I hire you? When it's just like, listen, people, they did their time, and unless they're just not great people, they are looking for a chance. And when you don't give it to them, well, guess what happens?
Yep.
The bad guys are like, we can't find work. And now there's this new phantom thief going around stealing these specific items. And for some reason, Snake is actually super happy. What we find out is that the phantom thief is gathering all these very specific items because of a material they are made of. What was it called? MacGuffinite?
Yep.
Oh gosh. And then the translation of, oh, it is also called a little MacGuffin. And what they find out is that there is a new trio of thieves that are stealing these MacGuffinite items for a bigger plot. They are Kitty Cat, voiced by Danielle Brooks, who is a snow leopard, Natasha Lyonne as Doom, or as Susan, a raven that was dating Mr. Snake, and Maria Bakalalova as Pigtail Petrova, a wild boar. And the three of them are very big fans of the bad guys. They love their reputation of being incredible criminals and heist goers and such. And well, you see that opening sequence where it's like takes place in the past when Miss Tarantula joins the team and such.
Mm-hmm.
God, that opening scene is so cool. Just the chase through Cairo, and it's so exhilarating and exciting, and just how the music is so good. I think they got it Busta Rhymes to do a new song, and that's the one that plays during that opening sequence, and it's so good.
The opening sequence of this movie is kind of the perfect foreshadowing for not only the motivation for these thieves, but also just getting into the heads of why the bad guys do what they do. And also, it's a great setup for a character who shows up later during like the main heist.
Right. And when you see the action in this movie, it once again reminds you that Pierre Perifel, the director of the first and second movie, worked on a lot of action set pieces for Dreamworks and such, like for
Kung Fu Panda 2, which is
Kung Fu Panda 2, Secrets of the Furious 5, and you can tell when someone who has worked in the action department is behind the directing chair, because this has some really great moments. Some of the best animated moments of the year, with the Cairo car chase and the luchador sequence, which is so much fun, so vibrant, and I can't imagine how much of a pain in the ass it was to animate all of that. I mean, you see that wave of people in the background when they get framed for stealing the belts, and it's just like a monumental wave of luchador fans chasing after them. And it's like, I want to know how they did that and like how much time that took. Like, there's so much going on in this movie, and they've improved and increased their crowd animation in this one from the first movie, where they pretty much kept the crowd stuff to like when they had the multiple police sequences and the guinea pigs, but here they do so much more.
I love in any media, but especially in animation, where the characters are getting chased by like piles and just waves of police. It's always just a entertaining sight gag.
At first, when I saw this film on Thursday, like for the first time, I was like, yeah, this is a pretty good movie. I think the villains aren't as interesting, like, as they could have been, but I did like a few of the story details that they implemented. One, I was a little worried about them having to bring back Richard Ayoade as Marmalade, only for them to, because then they do like the whole like Hannibal Lecter sequence where it's like, oh god, okay, we get it. We on top of the here's Johnny scene from The Shining, we don't need to do another Hannibal Lecter reveal. But to see Professor Marmalade walk out from the shadows to be this kind of grossly muscular guinea pig
Who skipped leg day.
yeah. And then when Zazie Beetz'
Diane.
character, yeah, Diane goes to like get the information from Marmalade, he's just like, "Oh, we're going to play a game," and then it turns out it's Connect Four, which I wonder if they had a like brand sponsorship for that thing, or if it was just like they couldn't make like a copyright free version or something like that because it's like otherwise, it's Connect Four. Our new group of villains, they are, I think the one who has the least amount done with her is Pigtail Petrova, only because she's introduced last, or somewhat last, plot wise, and she's played up more as like the excitable fangirl muscle of the trio. Because the ones who get like the most, it's funny, I think the one who gets the most development is Susan with her relationship with Mr. Snake.
I was not sure what to think of that relationship in the movie, but maybe it's just because of the like performance of Mark Maron and Natasha Lyonne. They sold that will they won't they romance. And also something I learned, a lot of these DreamWorks films are, most of them are like adaptations of books, and usually what they do is they'll take like the core premise but then go off the beaten path and do their own thing. So in the books, the bad girls are actually members of the International League of Heroes. That's quite a departure for this movie.
Well, it's like they fit in with the thematic commentary of the bad guys have been trying to get work, but they keep getting turned down. And Kitty Cat, who's again voiced by Danielle Brooks, she basically says, like, hey, you know what? I know you're trying to get out of this bad guy stuff, but wasn't that thrilling to steal the Elon Musk, but not Elon Musk adjacent characters Moon X wristwatch thing? It's like, wasn't that just like the best? And that does get to Wolf because, yeah, there is something extremely mentally taxing when you are going out there job hunting and you just can't get that hit because someone won't give you that chance, or companies are pulling some kind of bullshit and saying like, yeah, we have job hirings, but we're not really hiring anyone.
That one gets me the most.
Mr. Wolf is almost tempted to be like, you know what, maybe we don't need to be good guys anymore because there's more life to us and more to it when we were bad guys. But of course, they realize and remember, it's like, you know what, trust and respect is something that Kitty Cat has not gained through being a master criminal and such. And we see that with how Doom and Pigtail Petrova were like, okay, now we can just basically calm down after we pull off like the big like magnetic gold heist. And Kitty Cat almost pretty much kills Doom. Or, Natasha Lyonne's character. Like, I won't say, like, they're not the most compelling villains of DreamWorks' library, but they are fun villains. I like their performances. I am very happy that they did two things. One, they kept the weird, wild makeout sequence between Mr. Snake and Doom. Like, listen, on top of like the Zootopia 2 trailer comments where they're saying like, oh my god, they're partners. Does that mean? And it's like, listen, they're talking about police partners in that sequence. But I assure you, 100% people who are working in the animation industry are very aware of how a lot of y'all are little freaks.
They know.
They know about that thing, and like people were like, I can't believe DreamWorks got away with this, with the makeout sequence between Snake and Doom. And it's like, yeah, because it's not only a funny sequence of seeing them just make out like crazy, it is also something that they are entirely aware would get a reaction from people. A lot of artists and animators go into studios knowing, like, yeah, the stuff I'm going to work on is going to get turned into porn, and it's going to be really weird. So why not just lean into it a little?
Yep.
Like, that's what I liked about that Chip and Dale live action animation hybrid movie, where they just went with it, with Gadget and the little fly guy being a married couple and having kids. Like, everyone was like, "Oh my god, that's horrifying," and it's like, y'all love it, you little weirdos.
And that's the same director as the new Naked Gun.
So they are aware of that stuff. They're going to pull like some weird furry fan service stuff. And that's just a given with these kind of movies. So, and I did like a few of the reoccurring jokes in this one. Shark having a constant fear or like fight or flight reaction to freaking out was consistently funny. They're like, oh no, the Misty Luggins, the chief off or the commissioner, because she had to make that clear. She's the new police commissioner. And he just tosses the phone harder than I think any football quarterback will ever do. And then when they're at the luchador event and they run into Misty again and they just knock her out. And at the wedding where Mr. Shark is like, yeah, the bride to be got knocked out with a crank dart. And then the priest comes walking in and just gets knocked out cold. Like, this movie is still very funny. Like, I don't think it has jokes that land as well as the first movie, but this one's trying to have more of a story.
As far as like the balance between humor and narrative, it's a lot more balanced this time. Doesn't mean the jokes aren't there, because when they hit bullseyes.
I still wish, but it's kind of hard to avoid it now that they can't really not do the fart jokes. Even though like they were funny this time around, it was still kind of like the weakest jokes of the movie.
Yeah.
At least to me. Like, I'm sorry, it's just, but I get it also. Sometimes you just need like a gross out joke or something like that. Like with K-pop Demon Hunters, where the demons are like, tonight we will devour what makes you strong is, and then one of the Huntrix members just burps loudly. And she's like, ugh, sorry, say that again? Anyway. But I think my favorite sequence, though, and probably the best joke, is when they're running up the Moon X rocket. Golly, what a great sequence when they're just like hauling ass trying to get into the rocket before it goes fully into space. And that whole sequence where it feels like, how are they going to make it? How are they going to make it? And then they jump on the ice pieces that break off of the rocket. And then they get to the hatch and they're just like trying to open it up. And then Miss Tarantula is just like, yo, you dopes, you got to turn it the other way. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, she's like, guys, lefty loosey, righty tighty.
Though I will say they did a few good cutaway gags where, like from the first sequence where I am never driving another car again, and then it cuts to him driving like a really piece of garbage car. And I was amazed that they let a jackass through the script. With these PG ratings and the common now, like every studio is going to do it, surprise cursing bleeped out, like gag, which I forgot that the Smurfs did that, and I was like, oh, right, okay, whatever. Like, everyone saw it in the Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and then everyone wanted to do it, even DreamWorks itself.
Yep.
And because it was weird, I was kind of taken out of it a little, where it was just like, nice environmental footprint, jackass. And it's like, whoa.
I guess the limits have been tested for a PG rating.
Exactly. Then the other two cutaway gags that are great is when Diane and Mr. Wolf are they're kickboxing, I think. It's like, now I'm going to tell you how I'm the big bad wolf. And then it cuts to him like knocked out with a large black eye. Though the best one, and they take it to its most extreme, is them finding a way to land the space station safely. And they're like, we're going to make it. We're going to survive this or die trying. And it cuts to their funeral.
That was perfect.
I wish I had a bigger audience to hear that reaction, because the ones that I went to were very small. They did laugh out loud at that one sequence. And it's just like, this is probably for me the third best DreamWorks franchise right now. Like, if we're talking about consistent quality and the excitement and fun that it is to watch these movies. Like, I think for me, it goes Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, The Bad Guys. The Shrek franchise is a little too inconsistent, and I really pretty much like the Trolls movies for their animation experimentation than just as actual movies.
What about Madagascar?
That one's pretty consistent too, but though I think it gets better as the movies go on. And then, like, even though I love the penguins of Madagascar, it's a little exhausting. It's that fast-paced humor that really that's all that there is for that movie, even though it's still a lot of fun and I love watching that movie from time to time. It is like, okay, I need a tiny break from that. But you know what? Maybe put Madagascar at like 4, I guess.
I think that's fair.
And I do like that they still keep Diane Foxington and Misty Luggins in the loop. Like, they're still part of the plot. They're not just like, it's very Lupin the Third in that regards, where they're going to keep the Zenigata style police officer and the love interest for Mr. Wolf into the plot, and they have their own fun sequence and moments. I also love the coffee cup that Misty Luggins carries around. I see guilty people. It's just, when we talk about personality with movies, this is what we're talking about. We want movies that have an energy to them, a vibe to them, something that, like, oh, this is obviously from this director or from this studio or this team and such. And which is why it's important to not pull shit like with the Elio incident.
Yeah, I really hope studios take a lesson from that. As far as the style of this movie, how would you compare? I don't know if you had a chance to rewatch the first one, but how would you compare the animation between the two? Because this is one of the first projects that DreamWorks did post their outsourcing.
I think it's on par with the first movie. I think the first movie may be, no, like, I think maybe just like either on par or is like a slight upgrade. Like, and that's kind of how I feel about this movie. Like, in general, it's a slight upgrade to, like, from the first movie. And as much as I love the comedy, the action sequences, the heists are a lot of fun, I am waiting for maybe a better emotional core. Like, there's still a good foundation to the story of this new movie, but I'm ready for maybe a little more heart in the story, like a little more time to focus on the other characters a little. Because as much fun, like, I did like Mr. Snake's little side plot, love, will they, won't they dynamic with Doom, and how he is so enthralled with her and doesn't even care. Well, he's actually very impressed with the fact that she outsmarted him. She's like, she outsnaked a snake. If that's not true love, then I don't know what is. And everyone is just so weirded out by that. They're like, or like what Mr. Piranha says. It's like, I think the kombucha's eating his brain. I mean, there are a few jokes that are like that where it's like, okay, we get it, but it's just a fun movie to watch. And it seems like it's doing pretty well so far with this first week of its release. I am sure we're going to get more of it. At the very least, a third movie. I don't know if they're ever going to do like a spinoff. I don't think it would work as a spinoff. Like they did a spinoff of the Captain Underpants with Dogman, and maybe I just don't know enough about Dogman to know if they would ever do a sequel, but I don't know if they could do like a Misty Luggins spinoff with the bad guys and such, which would be fun. But the fun of sometimes a character is the fact that they're working off of someone else, which is why, like, the Penguins of Madagascar is fun. I don't think it's as good as like the second movie.
I'm not sure if this series can sustain like spin-offs, but I do know that like the book series is still ongoing. The last one, maybe they ended the series last year. That was the 20th book called One Last Thing. So, as far as the source material goes, they have plenty of material to mine.
Yeah, I could see this being like a small series as long as they don't pull a Mission Impossible by making the last movie 2 movies. I think people are getting kind of sick and tired of that now.
Probably, yeah.
So as long as they don't do that, I would love to see more of this franchise. Or at the very least, I would like to see them do one more and hopefully not regress the plot and story of the franchise, because that's what happened with Kung Fu Panda 4 for me, where Kung Fu Panda 3 ended on such a high note and it was great. And then the fourth movie felt like it had to regress backwards to have a reason of existence, if that makes sense.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen with the bad guys because as long as we just get to see these characters interacting and going on all sorts of adventures, that's all I really need.
Exactly. And let's see here. I freaking called it when I heard the tycoon from Cairo, because like when he was yelling and such, and that's where the bad guys get their iconic first car from the first movie. That the billionaire tycoon was played by Omid Jalili, who was the warden from The Mummy from 1999.
Oh, yeah.
Like, as long as they have fun with the premises and they don't go too overboard with, I think, like, when I was watching the bad guys, I think what I would like to see in the future, because now that they're going to be secret agents and such, if they have to regress them back to being thieves or something, at the very least, they could pull I don't know if you've seen Sneakers with Robert Redford, where the bad guys could start their own company where they test out like security systems for like banks and stuff to see how well it does. And like I said, watch that movie. It's, first of all, it's great. And it's just like something they could do, because I don't know if this franchise can handle them trying to be bad guys again.
I don't think they're going to do that again, but I'm pretty sure the secret agent team that they're involved in is kind of like their own version of what's in the books called the International League of Heroes.
Yeah, yeah. It's been fun to watch these movies, and it's what happens when, like, it's funny. We used to make fun of studios like this for not having an identity, but now, all things considered, with what has been happening, like either from the 2010s to now, having no identity with like what kind of animated films you make is actually a good thing. Branch out and be diverse and interesting, unlike how Disney and to some degree Illumination is, where they can't quite break out without having to deal with the fact that, they are those specific studios, which is deeply frustrating, that we've talked about before. So,
Yeah, I
like,
was just going to say there's a freedom to not having like one singular identity box them in.
I mean, like, I love Mamoru Hosoda and I love Makoto Shinkai, but I've been looking forward to like Hosoda's new movie Scarlet because even though it is another story dealing with time travel to some degree, it is a fantasy epic. And the moment Makoto Shinkai stepped away from doing yet another teen romance story with Suzume, I was like, you know what? That's pretty good. I'm glad that they did that. Just be creative. Let your creatives cook. That's all we ask.
Exactly.
Or at the very least, have Jorge Gutierrez more in your movies because he is a delight.
Yes.
So next time, I tell you what, we're going to go back to Arlen as we talk about the new season of King of the Hill.
I am very much looking forward to that. But until next time, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Blue Sky at camsiview.biz. I have my own website called camsiview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I am a contributor to Media Magpies, where we are your new one-stop shop for written, like, it takes on pop culture and media discourse. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camsiview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterbox.com/Coach K42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You can escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.